Hello and welcome to a new Practical Sheets video. Today we continue our event generator project. I will leave you the previous videos, but in summary what we have done is a small system that lets us create events based on Google Sheets table. So we have done three functions, one that creates all the events, one that creates only one event depending on the row I'm standing, and one deletes all event. And each function, once it creates, it leaves a status here. If it's created, then it says event created. If it deletes, it says event deleted. And if the previous status is event created, it won't create a new event. So it's a first way of preventing duplicate events. We can try it here. We'll open our calendar. We're going to change these dates to July 28. Let's play it. So here you see it starts changing the event status to created. And the other thing we did is we had some feedback messages that tells us if the events were created or not. So here it says I created 8 events. Then I go here, and here is June. So let's go to July, and I have all the events created in July and in August. Okay, and then I can delete them all, and it tells me it deleted 8 events. And I go here, and I wait 1 minute. And it deletes them. And I can create only one event, standing here in this last one and saying generate event from the current row. It created just this event and August 5. Here it is at 8 a.m. 8 a.m. Perfect. So the next thing I'm going to do is to delete only one event, to be standing here and just delete this event. The problem with this is that how does Sheets or Google Apps Script identify the event? So there's one way I can, the same way we looked for all events in the past, in the delete function. Here in delete all events, I could look with this get events. I could look at a starting date and an ending date. I'll look for the event. This will be one way. But my preferred way is to have the event ID. So I could add, once I create the event, that I also log here the ID of the event. So then it will be much easier not only to delete, but to modify the event. So this will be one way. Maybe in the future, we can explore the way of searching for the event, but I think it's more accurate to have the ID from the beginning. So I'm going to delete all events again so I can start from scratch. So once I start creating these events, every time I create it, I will have here an ID field where I'm going to log the ID of the event. Once I created it, this will be the key of the event for any future thing I want to do with this event. So we're going to go to our secondary functions where I have my create event, and here I have this row that logs the event created part. So what we're going to do is get the ID of the event and put it in the 6th column of our row here in the ID field. So for this, I'm going to create a variable called event and another one called ID or event ID. So first I'm going to assign the created event to the variable event, and then I'm going to assign to the event ID variable the method getID, and that's it. And finally, I'm going to duplicate this line, getRange, in the row but in the 6th column, and we're going to set the value to the event ID. And that's it. I'm going to save and I'm going to run just one event to see what happens. So it created one event, and here I have my ID. And here I have my event. Now I'm going to create all the other events, and it should not duplicate this event because I have this status event created, so it shouldn't create this event again. So let's create all the events. Perfect. So here I have them all. Just one minor thing, this shouldn't be called generate all events, but create all events. Generate sounds a bit weird for me. So create. Okay. And now, once we have the ID, I could easily delete one of the events. So we're going to create a function that is called delete event in current row. So I can borrow this line from this create event. I just need the active row. Now I need the event. How can I get the event? With the ID of the event. So I can get it from my ss dot get range. I already have the row, and I know the column is 6, and I will get the value. Now I have this ID, so I could use in the calendar app the method get event by ID with the event ID. I could call this event, and finally I could delete the event. Finally, I need to mark this event status as event deleted. So I will do ss get range in my active row, and in the 5th column set the value to event deleted as it is in here. And I could alert the user with my UI.alert saying the event was successfully deleted. There's 2 things missing. The first one is that if the event is already deleted, I shouldn't have the ID, and I shouldn't delete it because there is no event to delete. So first I should also delete the ID once I do this. So here in the active row 6, I'm going to clear the content. And the other thing is that I shouldn't do any of this, the delete event, if the status is already event deleted, as I did here in my create event. It says here that only do it if this is different from event created. So it's the same, but only do it if the status is different from event deleted. So as I got here the event ID, I can also get the status. The same, ss get range, active row by path 5 in column 5, and get the value. And we're going to put this inside an if function that if the status is different from event deleted, then we can do all this. And to be in the same level as all the other functions that we did, we could also use this try. And if for any reason it cannot do it, then we won't do all this. So we're going to put all these commands inside a finally function, and that's it. Let's format the document. I think we could do the same thing we did with create, and that is put all this inside another function that will be called delete event having the row. So I can have a function here called delete event that gets a row, and we can have all this inside this one. It's just a matter of organizing the functions, and that's it, no more. You could leave it as we had it a minute ago. But if you're following all the how I've done it through all the lessons, then this is like being in the same fashion. So here I change active row by row, and here the same. I change it for row. I think I don't need anything else. And here I will call this function delete event with my active row. And we're going to cut this function and put it here. Because why have I done this? Because I may need it in the future. I may need this create event and this delete event in the future for other functions, not only these ones. So this is why I leave them separated. So let's save. First, I'm going to run my menu creation function. So here I can have create all events, and I am missing my delete event from the current row. So I'm going to add another function in my menu that is called, here before this one, it's called delete event from the current row. And the function we call is delete event current row inside quotation marks. There's one last thing I need to do, because if not, I'm going to return. There's one mistake I did, and is that I cannot do the get event by ID directly from the calendar app, but from the calendar we have already defined before here, this calendar. So say calendar dot get event by ID, and then it will work. So in doing my tests, I created again a whole new batch of events, and I'm going to delete just one, this one. So apparently it deleted the event. Let's see, the one of the 30th of July. So I have it deleted. One other thing that is missing is that if I delete all the events, I'm not deleting the ID. I should delete it. So here in my delete all event, I could say that as I set the value of all the column 5, I also could erase all the column 6. So here in my 6th column, I could clear the content. So we're going to save and delete all the events. So I put the status in delete as delete and erase the 80. So we're doing good. We're going to create again all the events to do our next part, and that is modify the events. It's similar to what we have done. Having the ID, it's easier to change the event. Like, I don't know what part of the event is going to change, so I'm just going to change it all. Again, I'm going to do a function as I did in this create event based on a row and delete event based on a row. I'm going to do the same, but with modify. So I need all the data of the event, as I did here, the event name, the location, the speaker, the date. I also need the status and the event ID, as I did here. If the event has been deleted in the past, then there's nothing to modify. So I can say here that if this is different from event deleted, and if this is different from nothing, because remember that the first time we create a row here I am going to have this as a blank. So I need this to be different from blank and be different from event deleted. And I'm going to put all these commands or all these lines here. Another way to frame this is to see if event ID is different from blank. I could also put it as another condition. Event ID different from nothing. Now, After having all the data for modifying my event, now I'm going to access my event as I did here. Event will be calendar get event by ID and the event ID. Now I have to modify each of these variables in a separate manner. So I can go to my event and I'm going to set the name first. Set the title to event name. Then I'm going to set the location to the new location. The same for the speaker. Here I could add a guest just in case I don't have it. And this guest will be my speaker. Finally, remember the date. I had to do some modifications here, the starting and the ending date, so I will do it the same as I did before. You can go on the details in the first video of how I did this. I have the starting date and the ending date, and then here I can set them with the set time, and I'll add the start time and the end time. Starting date and the ending date. And finally I can return, as I did in my create event function, I can return success or modify the status, so that I know in the functions when I call this, I know if it was successful or not. Again, I could add this in a try function. And in my finally, I can have this. And as I have my create event in current row and delete event in current row, I can have a modify event in current row. Again, I just need my active row. It's the same as here. And I could call my function modify event with my active row. But as I did in my create event in the current row, I can have a constant called status. And only if the status is modified, then I will tell the user that the event was successfully modified. And if not, I'll tell it. Let's save and let's add this modify event current row in our menu. We're going to add a separator, and then we're going to add an item that will be called modify event in the current row. And here we'll call our function modify event current row and put it inside quotation marks. Let's save, run our menu creation, and try out our modify for this first event. It says that the event was successfully modified, but I haven't changed anything here, so I cannot check. So let's change this to the 15th of August and this to round 4, and then May's introduction to Sheets, to Google Sheets, and his practical sheets plus modified. Okay, that's it. So I have it here in the 28th. It should move to August. Let's change it. Apparently it modified it. Let's see. I don't have it here the 28th. And it changed it here to the 15th. And it's called Introduction to Google Sheets. It's in room 4. And I added a guest. We could modify it in the future, so I could also delete all the guests that I had in the past, so I don't accidentally invite other guests that were before. But this will require a couple of more lines. So that's it. I don't know if it's useful to have here the status changed to event modified. Just with created is enough, I think, for now. Okay, the last thing I'm going to do is one thing I was asked in the comments, and is we have done three things: create, delete, or modify. So what I have been suggested in the comments is to have here, maybe it could be, I'm going to put it here at the end, just not to change all the column numbers, but you could put it in the column you want. You could put here a column that is called action, and I'm going to have three actions. Let's put this as a data validation, and I'm going to put this as a list of items, and the three actions will be create, modify, and delete, to just restrict it to these three and to save it. So let's say I want to modify this one, delete this one, modify this one. Maybe I want to create a new one that is called and this one I want to create, and this I don't want to do anything to this, so I leave it blank. Okay, I'm going to change a couple of things in this to modify, maybe the room. And what I want to do is have a button here that says process all events or perform all actions maybe. And it can go one by one and do what it says. So let's see how we can do it. We'll call this perform all actions. And what we'll do is a for loop that's going to go through all this column, and depending on what it says in each one, it will do it. So there may be other ways to do it, or more efficient ways, but I think this is a first easy way for us to do it. So we're going to call this row, and it will start in 2, and then it will go until the last row. In this case is 10, but it could be other number. So we're going to go to our SS, that is our active sheet, and go to the method getLastRow. And then we're going to increment one by one this row. And in SS, we're going to get range in our row, and in the column, I think it's 7 in our case. And this will be the action, this value. We can do this multiple ways. We are going to use the switch function or the switch loop. So switch starts with an expression that will be our action. And then depending on that action, we can have some cases. So the first case is going to be that the action is create. What we're going to do if the case is create, then we're just going to call our create event with a row. That's it. In this switch method, we always need to break it after each case. So let's do another case that is modify. So if modified, then I should call our modify event. This is why it was so useful to create the functions before. So I now just only need to call the function, and that's it. I hope. Let's hope this works. And then the last case is delete. Now we're going to delete event from a row, break, and we could leave it like that. So that's it. To format this and put it in our menu. As perform all actions, we're going to run our menu. And then we're going to try this to see what happens. Let's see. This one it should change to room 11. And we should have deleted this one in the 29th and 30th of July. Let's see if this happens. So I deleted one. I deleted another one. Let's see. Here it changed it to room 11. These two it should have deleted, the 29th and the 30th. So here it is, it deleted it, and it should have created this new one. So perfect. So I just need to refine a few things. The first thing is that here in my delete event, I have the alert here, and I should have it outside. I should have it here in my delete event in current row, as I did here, the same. Returning that if I was able to delete, then I can return here deleted, and here I'll have a delete status, and then if the delete status is deleted, then I could put this alert. If not, yeah, this is, if you remember when I run this, then it had these annoying messages one by one that I didn't want. Yeah, so this will remove that. But I do want some messages about the modifications. So I could have here 3 status. I can have here num created and num modified. And when it creates one, I could add 1 to our counter, to our created counter, and the same here, and the same here, to our num deleted. And at the end of our function, I could say how many there were deleted, how many there were created, and how many there were modified. I could just alert a message. It says events created, and this is num created. Then we can add a dot and a line break, and then events modified, and again num modified, and a line break, and events deleted. That's it. Let's save. I'm going to delete this one, and modify this one and this one. And as you can see, there's another thing I need to do at the end, and it's put in blank all this, reset the actions. So let's play it again. It is deleting, it is modifying, so here it says. So let's check that this in the 20th of August is changed to room 71, just to double check. Here, room 71, so it's perfect. The last thing is to clear all this column. So I could do it with, as I did here, the clear content. Get range from row 2, but this is column 7 to the last row, and it will clear the content. So that's it. I think we were able to do it. Of course, as the programs keep getting a bit bigger, there may be room for errors and bugs, so anything you can discover, just let me know, and we can start debugging this and adding new things. So I deleted one event, and we did this in one action. The possibility of multiple actions, and deleted and editing multiple events at once. So that's it. You can find, of course, the code in my Patreon page. And please, any comments, just we can continue enriching this project furthermore. So thank you so much, and see you in the next video.